Okie doke.
All right, so we're recording. We're doing a little lesson. This is the Christmas lesson, the winter lesson to go with the Bryce Canyon winter view behind here. And, I didn't darken everything on this. One thing I didn't darken is that Let It Snow, because Pam didn't want to have Let It Snow on her snowman. But you can have that, and you could put that on with an ink pen later on, and it'd be nice and neat if you wanted to. Or you could put Noel, or you could say Happy Hanukkah, or whatever you want to put there. That's fine. I hope you can see my star. I just did the star, and I did the snowman and the Christmas tree and the presents and the shadows. I did one line for the horizon line because the trees back there weren't as important, but we can do the trees if we have time. And the clouds weren't as important. And so these three things in a composition make a triangle. And so it balances out. If you do things in thirds, our eyes like things in thirds. This isn't exactly in the third. Here would be in the third or in the middle, but it works out. And they're kind of balanced because the tree is big, but the snowman's not as big, but the star is big. And so that balances things out. And then we'll try to balance things out with the color. I need to go grab my palette, or I'll just use this as a palette. That's fine. And we'll put it there. So I think we should start. Now I printed it out and my ink cartridges are getting low, so it's not as bright, but it'll still give you an idea. Now you can make your presents any color you want. Traditionally, they're green and red, and you could add extra little stripes on them if you wanted to for the ribbons. This one had a ribbon stripe on it, and maybe this looked more like a grocery bag because it had handles, and you could do the handles later with a fine brush with white or whatever. I'm just going to put another stripe there because I think it balances it out. And I think I'm going to make, I'm probably going to go green, red with these. So alternating. So this first one over here will be green with the stripe. It looks like it has a red stripe or a dark edge on that. So I'll go with the reds. My red isn't as red, so I'm going to switch to an acrylic red just because I want a nice bright Christmas red. And you can mix them. You just have to make sure you clean your brushes. So I did this composition in Photoshop. I found a snowman, a Christmas tree, and actually on the layers behind the Christmas tree, there's a little manger and Joseph and Mary in there, but I thought that would be a little too detailed to do. So I covered it up with the tree. So I'm going to go with my crimson red. And if you don't have a real dark red, you can use your regular red and add just a touch of blue to it to make it a little more crimson-y. And again, with the acrylics, you have to just make sure you clean your brushes really well. And I'll put a little red down here. Open it with the little pointy end of the cap. And there's some red. And these are the acrylics. They'll dry in, like 20, 30 minutes, and then you can't use that paint anymore. I'm going to go with the medium-sized round brush. I actually go smaller round brush to do the acrylics. Hey, there she is. How are you, Holly?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. And so with the acrylics, you need a little more water than the watercolors if you're trying to do it lightly like I show. And so this one's going to be a light red here and a light red.
Can you push it up, Doug, so we can see the presents where you're doing it?
Here.
Awesome. Thank you.
And I'm going to go a little darker on the side where the shadow is, just by adding a little more paint. And you can always wait for that to dry to come back in. But that just, in the picture, it's a little darker because it's in the shadow. And even the top of it would be in the shadow of the tree. So you could darken it like that. And so I'm going red, and then red package, then green. So go red, green, red, green. So this package here which if you wanted to leave those straps, you could, but you could come back in with a white gel pen or a tan gel pen and put those straps back in because it looks like a grocery bag kind of present. And so this side would be in the shadow. So I'm going to darken the top to make it in the shadow of the tree, and even the side of this could be darker because the lights really in this scene, the light should be coming from the front and down on it. Pretty much a little bit from the top in an angle like this, so that the snowman has a shadow here and the tree has a shadow there. So with this present here, I'm going to add a little more water and do this side of it a lighter red. And even if you left little streaks in it, that's like little streaks of light that might be reflecting off the shiny paper. And you could do that. Now the ribbons, I'm going to make a golden color. I don't have a golden watercolor, though you can get golden acrylic that even has a metal flake in it. That is kind of a neat look. And I'm going to get away from the red. I'm going to go with a Christmas green, like a darker green. And we'll do the other presents green. And this is a true watercolor that I'm doing here. And just taking that green. And with these presents, if you look at them, one side's a little, they're gold in the picture, but I'm making them green just because I wanted to. And that way you can decide what color you want your presents to be. I left a little white edge right there. And that's just to help differentiate these two presents. And the edges of things tend to get a little line of white anyway. I think the shadow on this one would be on this side, the right side. So I'm just going to darken that one. And if you get too dark, you can blot it with that paper towel. Now, did you receive things from Amazon, Chrisley?
I did, Doug.
Okay, I was thinking that we've done enough watercolor that you get the idea and you can start practicing and playing with it.
Yeah.
But I thought maybe next time, which we probably
Don't say anything about it, because unless you want to, I was gonna have things I was gonna
be surprised.
wrap some things and have it be a surprise.
Okay, so next time we'll do something different. Okay, so there you are. And I just put a little wet on wet here just to give it a little bit of a texture. It almost has a feeling of leaves from the tree. Could be a reflection of the tree. But, you know, you can make these any color you want. Certainly Christmas is normally green and red, but you could go with golds and blues. And there's all different Christmas wrapping paper. And I don't know what typical colors are for Hanukkah.
Blue.
Kind of blue and silver usually.
Blue and
Yeah.
silver. Well, Hanukkah's done anyway, but still, we could do Hanukkah colors if you want. I had a Jewish friend, and they always had a Hanukkah bear under the tree, which I don't think is traditional for Hanukkah, but they had a Hanukkah bear that delivered presents like Santa.
Oh,
That's cute.
So yeah, I thought it was kind of cute. So I think my shadow here is too dark, so I'm going to darken this side just to make it tie into the darkness there. I really like the dark against the light. It's really the way watercolors look. Now, since we've got the green, we could go into the green. Now, with green on trees, they're not always the same shade of green. So if we had some light green and some dark green, we could do the darks. And on my tree, it looks like this side has a little more shadow. It doesn't show, it's pretty even, this tree. It looks more like a drawing than an actual tree, but I think I'm going to darken this side right in here more. to give the tree some shape. And if you darken the other side, that would give you more of a cone shape. I'm hoping this tree is a Douglas fir.
It is if you want it to be.
Yeah, I think it is. And that's Pseudotsuga taxifolius. That's the only tree name I know, but it's a Douglas fir. Pseudotsuga. Now, I'm going lightly first, just to give an idea of where that shadow is, trying to leave where the ornaments would be. And I didn't do quite as many ornaments because I thought, well, those ornaments are going to be a little bit of a pain. And it's that idea that if you have a few, the eye fills them in anyway. And so I'm doing a lightly where that shadow is. And I'll darken that in, but I just wanted to get an idea of where I thought the shadow should be. And if that edge is a little rough, it's okay, because those pine needles come out and the branches come out. And I'm going to do the other side the same way. And if you think it needs another ornament, you can leave a star shape or a circle shape to make sure that you have the ornaments. We want to leave a little highlight on those ornaments so they really have a little bit of shine. Now you could come back in with white afterwards, but if you leave the highlight, then you don't have to come back in with the white, and then you're being a traditionalist and painting the way that watercolor people think is true. Now, do water people are watercolor people correct? Well, for their medium, that's what they think. They think you shouldn't use white, but that doesn't mean that we can't use white and it won't look good. Down here on the bottom of the tree, and I'm staying with this rather small round brush. I like the round brush because it has a nice little pointy point, and it gives me some control. So the bottom of this tree, I'm coming in and darkening it up. And if you do little brush strokes like that, what do you think it looks like?
Pine needles.
Pine needles. And they don't have to look exactly like pine needles, but if you do 1, 2, 3 coming out from that area, even if they stick out a little bit, maybe even darker, because they could be that pine needle in the shade. And it just makes it look like a tree. Now, when we're painting, we're just looking more like textures. This tree, actually, the picture doesn't have much needly look, but I know what a pine tree looks like. It has these little needles that stick out, and you could do that. Now, you can leave that tree fairly light. It still looks pretty nice, especially with those pine needles, but I'm going to come in with the different color green. My green's a little more yellow. This is called a grass green, but you could add a little yellow to your green and get a variation. If you look at pine trees, some of them are bluer. They have those blue spruces, and some of them are more yellowy. And the thing about green that's nice is when you combine all different colors of green, they still look good, because greens in nature are everywhere and there's all different colors. And so I'm just kind of filling these areas in with the green, grass green strokes. And if I go over an ornament, is that a problem?
No.
Because the needles could be covering the ornament.
Holly, are you laughing because I'm answering the hypothetical questions?
I'm laughing at how you're answering.
They can be hypothetical or they don't have to be. So yeah, if some needles go over the top of your ornaments, it's okay. And we'll come back in and we'll color the ornaments. And we could have colored the ornaments first, but I'm just coming in here. And notice how the green with the yellow in it pops forward.
Mm-hmm.
Warm colors come forward, dark colors go back, and the greens are cooler, but if you add yellow, that's a warm color. Fire colors like yellow, orange, and red, they're warmer colors, they come forward. So if I was really thinking, I would have done my packages opposite, because the reds come forward and the greens would go back, and these two packages are forward. But you can get away with it. You don't have to. But if you would have thought about it, and I would have made these packages red, it would have made the depth even deeper. Now, the more contrast we put in here, the more this tree is going to look rounded if we put darker areas. So if I go here with the darker green and come in and add some darker greens, and I think that's a little too dark for what I would originally do, but it's okay. And you could blot it with your finger or with the towel if you wanted to, or you could come back in with water since they're watercolors. Oops, no, put a drop in the sky. Well, we'll cover it with blue, but you can wipe it away. And so even if you did that and you did a lot of water in your brush, you thought, oh, those are too dark, you can blend them in. You could even blot them and get rid of them. And I'm putting the darks here on the edge of the tree, not the very edge, leaving that a little light, because that's where the light would hit. And putting a dark in here to make it a cone shape. If you actually looked at a cone, let me draw one over here really quickly. A cone shape. The shadows would be here and thinner at the top and wider at the bottom. And you might even have a shadow on this side to define a cone. And so if you do that with the tree, so sometimes when they practice, they just have you do spheres and cones and cubes. And it's a good drawing practice because this tree is really just a cone. And if I get the shadows where that cone would have shadows, it makes the tree look more conular. What's the word for conular? That's not right.
Conical?
Conical, that's a good word. Or conical. So
Like Harry Conical Jr.
Harry Conical.
There you go, Pam.
I saw Harry Conical Jr. in concert once.
He looked a little cone-like.
He was a little coney to me. I thought he was. No, it was interesting because when I talk about light in my photography classes and I talk about light in my 3D classes, there is RGB light, red, green, blue. And when you print, it's CMYK, red, green, blue, red, yellow, blue, and black. The K.
It's magenta. Wait, CMYK is cyan, magenta, yellow.
And K is the key color, which is black.
Yeah.
Do the shadows. Well, when you mix pure colors, and I'm going to come in now, and I'm just going to make some of my ornaments yellowish because I want some to be yellow, the stars especially, and I want the ribbons to be yellow. And I'll continue to talk about light as I'm doing the ornaments. When I do one of these ornaments, I want to leave a little dot at the top. Maybe if the shadow's on the right, maybe on the left side, a little white dot so that they have a little glow to them and makes them look shinier if you have that little light highlight on them. So as I do one of these, I'm going to go here. Now with the yellow, it's not too dark, so you can't see I left a little white spot there. But as we work on it, and if we do other colors, you'll see it more with the red. So I'm just going to do a few yellows. Now I'm looking at balance, so yellow here, yellow there, yellow here. And then a yellow ribbon here. Now if you go with it,
I need another minute just to finish the green on my tree.
okay, I will just work on the tree, and you can put more needles on the tree if you're waiting, and that's okay.
Yeah, unless were you just taking a pause from the tree and going to the ornaments? Because I can do that too.
I'm just going to ornaments, and you can pause from the tree. Sometimes you want the tree to dry so you can come back with other colors in there. It might be that since I talked about trees being a little blue, if I pick my blue, and I'll just add a little white to my blue, I could put some bluish needles in there. And they could be rather whitish, which would be highlights, could be some frost that you put on the tree to make it look like Frosty the Snowman. Okay, anyway. So my cat was so happy to see me. She missed me last night.
Aw, she's so cute.
She came romping around the house. Up there she is. Up, she ran away. So
Great.
I'm just doing a really light blue. It's Gracie, she's a good girl.
Mhm.
Such a good. She makes me smile.
I'm glad you have her.
I am too. I thought I was happy, but with the cat, I'm happier. So
Yeah, I've noticed the difference in you.
really, yeah,
Yeah.
boy. Well, she just every night she'll come up and she'll get on my chest in bed and fall asleep for a little while, and she's so good when I have to roll over. I have to roll over, and I just start a little bit, and she runs down, sleeps by my feet, and keeps my feet warm. So I'm just putting a little blue in here. I'm a big advocate of lots of different colors because the lights, and I don't have lights on this tree, but if there were lights, they'd be lighting up and they'd be making things blue and making things red and yellow. So if you add a little bit of different color, it just makes it more interesting, makes things pop. And underneath the ornaments, if you do a little bit of the darker green or a darker color, it could be the darker blue even. I'll go with the blue green. This blue green is fun. Or green blue. I don't know why they don't call it green blue. They call it blue green. I don't know why they call light red pink, but they don't call light blue blink or light green grink.
I have no idea either.
I'm a big advocate for grink.
Yeah, you're putting out a lot of petitions about it.
I do. I have 10,000 people who've signed so far. I think I've got to get 30,000 before I can put it on the ballot.
Gotcha.
The one I'm a real advocate is if all politicians need to pay Social Security, so they'll fix it.
Yes.
They have their own retirement plan, which is fine. They can keep that, but they need to pay into Social Security. That way they'll have an impetus to fix it. I also think the way they do it in Israel, and I'm not getting hyper political here. I just think the way they do it in Israel, if they don't balance the budget in 3 months, they vote them all out and vote new people in. If they don't approve the budget. So they don't get paid if they don't approve the budget. In fact, they lose their jobs. And that's their job, to do the budget. So enough said. No more. Stop, Doug, before you get in trouble. Okay, now I'm just putting some darker blue underneath the ornaments. That's just going to pop it. And since it's blue, it's going to recede. And I think it looks pretty, but you don't have to do that either. So the tree, you could say the tree is done. I'd like to do a little more needles. But again, if you do a few here and a few there, if you do just a couple at the top, then that's enough to give the viewer an idea that they have needles. Now, if you have, I'm going to put this brush in the water because I was using acrylic. If you have a fan brush, which I kind of recommend, but if you don't, you can take your brush and hold a regular brush and just hold it out like that with your fingers. And if you take that green and you do that, then when you do it, it does little strokes automatically. So you don't have to do multiple strokes. It just kind of does strokes when you do it.
That looks nice.
Yeah.
I've been using my flat brush and stippling, and that works too.
Stippling is good.
Yeah.
Is that, whose voice is that?
Pam?
That's Pam.
Pam, okay, yeah, she's a stippler. I can't recognize her voice with the other people's voices because I don't listen to Holly and Eli as much.
Well, you should.
Well, I'm working on it. That's why we're doing this, to visit with my nieces and my sister, my wonderful sister.
That's-
So there's that. And did you get the thing for Tom?
No.
Okay, well that's coming. Hopefully it gets there by Christmas.
Wow.
Is he there?
He's in his study, so he could overhear.
So if I whispered, would he hear?
I don't know.
I'll chat, and I'll just chat and tell you what it is. So we're all sworn to secrecy.
I'm telling him immediately.
Well, if that's the way you are, I will remember. And that's okay. I just know.
Pam is a stippler and I can't keep secrets.
Yes, okay. That works.
Ah, good.
I thought he'd like that.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's a good idea.
It was a separate order. I could not order that from the art supply store.
right. Whoop. Don't give
Oh.
anything.
Now, under trees, shadows are normally complementary color of the things around it. So green would be more of a reddish shadow. And you don't have to stick with that, but I'm going to go with a greenish blue for the shadow because there's some reds there. And again, with the watercolors, if you stay light, then you can always come back in and darken them in. And with this shadow, on the edges would be lighter because the light starts to intrude, but where it's tight and close to the pictures, and I just wet it so it can be a wet on wet shadow. It might look a little like water, but I don't know. I sometimes like the way that looks, the wet on wet. It might not look as much like a shadow, but I can blend it a little more. And that's a shadow on the snow. And we can come in and darken it a little more later on. Shadows tend to be fairly dark. The same shadow color would be underneath the snowman, just to make them even. Got a little hair in there. I'm just taking my hand and getting rid of it. And coming across. So we got Mr. Snowman. How's everybody doing? Need a little more time on the tree?
Just a smidge, not too much.
I mean, there's ornaments. We can come back and get the ornaments. And really, if the tree went darker under all the ornaments, it would really make the ornaments pop. And do you know what stippling is?
Yeah.
You.
Yeah, stippling is just dabbing. And you can certainly dab. And that gives a texture to the tree. And that could look like the ends of the needles coming towards you. And it would definitely look like Pam's tree, which is fiber optic, that has those little fibers coming towards you. And if I stipple in these darker areas, you can also take a toothbrush and flick it and have spots. But I don't want those spots everywhere. So sometimes you cover up things like with a piece of paper and flick the paintbrush, the toothbrush like that to have a stippled pattern. It works when you want to make things look older or have a little bit of a texture on them. Like if you had maybe a zombie that needed really rough skin. Not saying we're doing zombie. Now, I really appreciated watching those new moon and the different witch, werewolf, vampire.
Vampires, yeah.
What were they called?
Twilight.
Yeah, Twilight was good, but the one that killed me was the one where she was giving birth to the baby and they had to eat the baby out of her. And I was watching that with my nieces. That movie was just wrong. And after that, I didn't watch any of the other movies. I just thought, and then he's going, oh, I didn't know I could make a human pregnant. Well, maybe you should take precautions anyway.
I completely agree.
I love
that
your
was
hot
like-
takes. Your hot takes on Twilight.
That was Breaking Dawn Part 1, right?
It
So
was. There was only one more movie, Uncle Doug, that you didn't see.
And I didn't see because we didn't see it together, and I didn't want to. I'm just watching that with my nieces, and they're the ribs are breaking, and I was just like, no, this is not right. The other ones were all, oh, he's a vampire and he's wonderful, and oh, he's a werewolf and I love him. No, I don't love him. Well, maybe I do. I even drew a picture of, what was the vampire's name? Edward?
Yeah.
Yep.
I even drew a picture of him and it turned out really well.
You did?
I
Can we
want to
see
see
it? I
it.
know.
Let me go grab it real quick. I think I know.
Yes.
It'll take me a second.
That's hilarious.
This is an unexpected gift.
What's yours look like so far, mamas?
I do not think I am very,
I like it.
I like it
you?
too.
I like it.
well, thank you very much. I think I'm being maybe overly critical.
Yeah, and you know, it's nice, it's simple, but you can always go back in and add more detail.
Yeah,
Mm.
right.
But at least it's a good place to start, and it looks fine just the way it is.
Thank you.
I've discovered where the canyon is. It's Bryce Canyon National Park in Utah.
Utah.
Ah,
Yeah.
Mhm.
So,
And it's a picture of Thor's hammer.
Oh, yeah.
I'm trying to make my finger actually point at it. There. Thor's
There you go.
It's almost the same size on that picture.
Yes. Is it a monument or is it my finger?
We don't know. That's funny.
I do like my shadows. So.
Oh, yeah. Uncle Doug.
And I put him in a frame and everything. And
Oh my God.
Wow.
I was thinking the next Twilight movie, I would, you know, when I was with you guys, I'd come up, but then you moved to Texas and I don't know. And
I know we ruined all your plans. Can you turn it around? So
Yeah,
we
turn
can,
it
Oh,
around.
sorry. I can take the plastic off if you need me to.
that's
good.
yeah.
I'm impressed.
You're really getting his like brooding
He was a brooding guy.
nature.
And it's just like, and so the last movie, what happened? It won't kill my.
Oh my God.
How do we
They
even
have,
know?
I think it's the Volturi, right? Who are the vampire royalty.
Like
league.
went to Italy.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Italy, they learn that Bella and Edward have had this child, and they think that this child is like a vampire child, where a vampire has bitten a human child, and so then they'll never age and they're a child forever.
And
But
that is like the one kind of rule that no vampire can break is like you do not create
A human vampire.
like vampire children because they make it impossible to stay hidden.
Yeah.
But also there's like all this other, like they've always wanted Edward's powers like in their little group, you know, and the same with Alice and like stuff. So it's like the guys that they can go under to try to like get all the things that they've wanted.
Oh, and there was that blonde girl that Hudson? No, not Hudson.
Dakota Fanning.
Dakota Fanning. Yeah. Okay. I think I saw part.
Look at Mom knowing who's in.
Sibling
Okay.
connection.
So we're at the point where we want to do the snowman. Now, if you notice this snowman, and not Edward Snowden snowman, he is really brown. And I don't like the brown.
No.
I think if he's ice, he would be more of a bluish, a light blue. So if you look where the shadows are on him, it's at the bottom here. And it's the way shadows are on spheres. They're kind of curved. And so I'm going to go with a light blue for his body. And so I'm going to take the white and the blue and just get enough white. Now, you can use very little blue when you do this. I'm going to have to do a little more white. If you can see my palette, let me pull it out a little bit here. And scoot this. Actually, I should scoot it in a little bit there. And so I'm going with a very light blue just to do this. Now, snow actually has a little texture to it So if we did a little Pam stippling, our hidden Pam, that we could do this. And so I'm using quite a bit of water just to keep it light and going around the snowman, leaving a little white edge. See the little white edge? And that actually helps to describe the shape. That's where the light hits the edge and around there. Now, I don't want to get too carried away with this because I want them to look pretty much white. I could come back in with a little more white, but we'll do that. And underneath here, where his upper ball is, goes there. And well, it's a snowball.
Ellie's giggling.
I know, because she's
It's word-
thinking naughty things about snowmen, and it's not the way they are. That would just melt, and it wouldn't
Yeah.
work.
They're pure and innocent beings.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why they're
Asexual
white.
snowmen
Yes.
are asexual.
I think, well, maybe they're not physically asexual, but they're snowmen and snow women. I guess could be they men, they women, they, whatever.
Snow them.
Snow people,
Snow thems.
snow them.
Know them.
That sounds like snowed in.
I would say snow ease. like
Snowies.
this guy.
Oh,
Snow-
that's cute. Yeah.
There we are. And so we're doing that here. Now, Pam did not like the X's for the mouth.
I didn't. It looked like, in cartoons when they showed dead things. That's
Dead
kind of what it
things, but
reminded me.
also
Yeah.
scarecrows, they do those. So we can always just go with the smile, or we could, if he's throwing his hands up like that, he could be going, ooh, ooh. I don't know if that, you could see that.
I saw it.
Okay. So he could just be going, oh, because throwing his hand up, oh, it's Christmas, oh. So you could do that, or you could make a mouth. I think that works pretty good, well. And I'm going to darken his shadow a little more. And I think I went a little dark on it. So if I stipple some white in there, it'll give it some texture. Like snow has a little bit of a rough texture unless it's really melted. And I can also take that blue that I was doing there underneath the snow person and come over here and just darken it here. If you darken it right under the presents, it really makes the presents pop out, and it gives you that really feeling of how watercolor looks. So I'm going to clean my brush really well, and I'm going to find a rougher brush, maybe my square brush. It's a little rougher. This one here is pretty rough. I don't think it's a really good brush, but for this, I'm going to take it and I'm going to put some white down. Where's my white? There's my white. And put the white right in there. Pure white. And I'm going to take that white and get this rough brush and fan it out like that a little bit. And get in here in the dry paint, no water. Of course, if you have the hard block, you have to have a little water. And I'm just going to go like this on the edges of where that was to roughen it up. Somehow I got a different color in there, and that really makes me mad. Mad! Okay, anyway, and I'll just take a piece of paper towel or a piece of napkin, dip it in the water, which is pretty clean still, and we can dab. Now this stain you want to dab. Oh, I have the red paint on my fingers is why. So I have to be a little, that's why I like computers. I can't get my fingerprints in computers.
Yeah, and you don't have to clean up after them either.
Yeah. So I'm just dabbing this red, and if it blends, there could be a little red in there, and that's where I could type write Noel and cover it up, but I'm trying to get that red out of there. And I can cover that with the white if I really wanted to, except for I've got red in my brush. All right, another brush, different brush. This one here. And just put the white in here. Now, watercolors don't cover as well because when you paint, they bring out the other color. So you might have to do a couple coats, let it dry. Sometimes if you come back in with acrylic white, you could cover it up. Have to get an opaque acrylic. But that gives the Watermelon Man. Watermelon Man, that's a song.
Sort of a song.
It's a jazz song, Herbie Hancock.
Oh, okay. It's not the one I'm thinking then. Okay.
Yeah,
All right. I'll cut you some slack on that one.
well, you better. Or I'll just turn this off and go. Anyway,
You know,
I'm gonna-
a cool effect you could do with both the snowman and the tree is add glitter to them.
you can, and you can actually buy acrylic that has a metallic glittery look in it, gold and silver.
My
which would be
paint came
fun
with
for
this.
this. Yeah. Oh, good for you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make a nice orange here, because I want to do the carrot nose, and it's probably the only orange. But if we do orange for the carrot nose, then I would put some orange elsewhere, just to make it tie in. Otherwise, it's a focal point where we're just staring at his nose.
Maybe,
Dark underneath.
or
a
maybe
little
some
highlighter.
orange on some ornaments or something,
You
or
could do that, or you could even just put some orange.
ribbon. I'm gonna put orange
There
ribbon.
is a ribbon that you could paint in here. And the tree had a ribbon going around it, and it could be orange or orangey yellow. And so you could just come in like this and put a ribbon in. I'm just rotating my brush as I do that, so it gives a little variation in width. But I think that works. Orange down in here. And even if it got dark, it's still orange. A little bit of yellow.
You could probably put a little orange in the branch arms.
You could do that too. That would do it with the brown and the orange in there.
Mhm.
I'm just doing a little bit of orange in this ribbon that goes around the tree, just going here, up like that. That could be a thin little ribbon. Doesn't have to be as noticeable. That just helps to bring the orange over here. I mean, the star on top of the tree could be a yellow orange. That's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
And I made the star on top of the tree the same shape as the star in the sky. And notice on my snowman, I painted a little tree on his hat. I don't know what was on his hat. But if I put a little tree there, it kind of reflects the tree over here, so it makes it tie in a little more. We can take a little bit of the green and do his tree. Now, his hat is supposed to be black, and it gets really tricky a little bit with black, because if you go with the pure black, you don't see the edges, you don't see the shape. So you really want to go with a more of a charcoaly gray look. And so if you do the black in a little, is everybody doing okay? Were you doing
Yep.
good on time? Good. You
Yeah,
guys
all
are
right.
you guys are doing really well. So I'm going to take the black in a medium sized, fairly small round brush, medium. And actually, I think I want the smaller round brush. There it is. Smaller round brush, about that big. There's my fingernail for scale. And I'm going to get a lot of water. I'm not going to put any white in it, but I'm just going to do the hat, making sure the brush isn't too wet. I dabbed it on my finger, which gave me a problem with the red. But I'm just going to do the highlight areas that maybe there would be a highlight in a little lighter color like that around the brim, around the edges, around the top. And then I'll come in with the darker. That actually makes it look a little felt-like with the texture of the paper. And then I'll come in with the black And you can always go darker, so make sure you stay a little light. And I'll go in here with the black where the dark areas would be, where the shadows on a cylinder. The cylinder would be like a cone. I don't know if I'm drawing this big enough, but it would have shadows on either edge, maybe slightly on the bottom. So this would have the shadows on the edge, but I'm leaving that just a little highlight of a glow because this light from the star is giving a glow on the edge of the hat. It just makes it look more realistic. Like that. And then his little brim. We can come in dark in here. And then dark. And I'm leaving a little edge on his brim so it differentiates the brim from the top. If I made it the same color, you wouldn't see the brim. And then you can come in with a little darker after you've done that. Sometimes letting it dry helps. And I like it when it gets that real dark contrast, which makes the hat look a little shinier, but also gives it a lot of depth. So let me get some darker black, a little less wet. You can wipe your brush with the towel if you want and come in here, darken this in. That's where the shadows under the brim would be. I actually gave his hat a top, but you don't have to. Dabbing it with my finger, I think it got a little dark. And so you don't want to go pure blacks all the time. Now his eyes are coal. They are round, but I'm going to do little facets on them like that. Just so they have a little highlight and they're not quite so round because they're supposed to be coal. I might come in with a smaller brush and clean those up later. The lumps on his stomach could be coal also, but they're bells. And they're little like patinaed brass, so they're kind of a brownish color. I have a ochre and a brown. And if they're bells, they'll have little highlights on them also. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Pretty good.
Can we see?
Yeah, just a sec.
Okay. Oh, beautiful.
Oh,
I
that's
love it.
neat.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Very cool.
Oh, thank you.
You have a different style than me, but I like it. No,
I love your tree, Doug, with those pine needles.
but your tree is a different tree. It's just more of a soft tree. And I
Yeah.
love it because it has a real soft feel and a warm, loving feel. My tree is more realistic, but it looks a little more spiky, maybe not as loving. So you can all develop different styles.
All
And if
right.
you want to develop a style that is softer and flowing, that's good. It's okay. And so that's the advantage of being an artist. Now, I did the ochre on the bells. Notice I left these two areas white so that they look like a reflection on the bell. And I may go in darker with those little lines later. Now that I have this ochre in my brush, which is a yellowish brown, I can do the stalks of his arms. And I have a small round brush, so I can do that. If you make it a little larger on accident, just make it larger on purpose and just even it out. Just trying to keep the lines kind of straight, though these are branches. They could be a little rough. Oops, there's a bump right there. Okay, no. Well, that's because that's a branch. And we could do some little dark, barky looks on those later if we wanted to. But just doing the watercolor seems to give it a nice look. Now, if you're going to paint the background, which you wouldn't really have to do, You could leave the background white. You're just going to have to go around those, and you're probably better off to do it when things are dry. If you did the wet on wet, once everything is dry, you could do a nice wet edge there, and the paint would flow in and it wouldn't get on the other paint because it wants to stay with the wet. Now he has, what did we decide on the mouth?
I just made little black dots like Cole. But you could put a smiley face on, or you could give him cheeks and
I
whatever.
think I want smiley face. I'm going to go with blue, like the ice is just a little melted there, like someone put a hole in the ice. And I'm just going to make a smile, doing it light at first. And I'm going to do little curves like this for his cheeks. And that takes a little bit. See, I'm bracing my hand here on the board and then holding, you can even hold your hand. And so I get a nice, smooth, straight line. I'm pulling towards me. You don't want to push your brush. And there he is. Your little smile. Since I got that blue, I'm going to put a little darker underneath the scarf. And on the edges of the scarf, that's the shadow of where the scarf is. Now, the scarf is striped, and I think it should be red, but you could alternate red and green, and that'd be kind of fun. But the scarf does have a shadow. So if I do the light blue, which is I'm using kind of for the shadow color, and I just go here, there's a little bit of a wrinkle in the scarf where it has a shadow, and at the base of the scarf, it has a wrinkle over where there's a shadow there too, and a shadow in the middle of the scarf. So I'm going to go with that blue and go down the middle of the scarf, lightening it up. That just makes the scarf bend a little bit. We spent hours and hours in one of my drawings class just drawing folded material and crumpled up paper bags. And it helps you to see where those shadows are. Now, if I try to do the red stripes now when this is still wet, it's going to bleed the red stripes. So we want to let that one dry. And we do need a difference in the edge here. When we do the blue sky, that'll show this edge. But as things go away from you, they get a little bluer and more purpley and darker. So I'm just going to take a medium-sized brush. Actually, I'm going to take this brush.
We got 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
Okay, and so this will be the last thing. I'm just going to take the blue and very lightly go right in here and darken that all the way across. And I think I'm going to go just a little darker than that with the blue, just to show that this snow, as it goes away from me, blended in here, gets darker. And it could just be a little bit like that, or if you want to go a little darker, you can. And darken that in. And then you can do the sky wet on wet. When the scarf dries, you can put the stripes in there with a small brush. Do a little details on your ornaments, a little bit of white highlights to make those pop. And there you have your little Christmas card that you can print out and send to your friends.
Thank you so much.
And you
Thanks,
can paint
Doug.
Noel here. You can put Noel in the sky or whatever. Or happy, happy, joy, joy. All right, so that's our Christmas one. Next time we're going to do something a little different. When is next Sunday? Is that the day after Christmas?
It's 2
it's-
days after.
Is
Yeah.
that okay to do that Sunday?
What do you guys think? It could be, it might be that Eli is here with us. So I don't know if that'll be easier or not. Would you like to take the Sunday off, Doug, or?
I
Yeah.
enjoy doing this. So, Pam, were we going somewhere that Sunday?
No, not really.
Saturday. Let's plan on it, and I might just do
Okay.
more of a demo that day instead of actual.
Oh, that might be, that
Because it's new.
actually, that might be good, a demo, because then space-wise and stuff, but we can see too, because I've got the big island. So if the three of us are here and you're demoing, we probably could do
You'd
some-
probably
whatever
be
it
fine.
is. Okay. All right, we'll
Yeah, I
plan.
think that'd be fun to do something.
Okay.
Okay, let's plan on it then.
All righty.
Yay.
We'll plan on next Sunday at noon.
All
Our
right,
time,
everybody.
10 o'clock, 10 o'clock
Thank
your
you
time.
very much, and I'm gonna go here.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Pam.
Bye.
Always good to
Bye,
talk to you.
everyone.
And
Okay.
I'll go here, and I'll say
Yeah.
bye, bye, bye,
Bye.
Bye.
bye, bye, Pam.
Bye.